also masticating a secondary line that's basically our backup plan if we need to go to that.
A lightning strike ignited the Cedar Creek Fire August 1st, 2022. For nearly a month, the fire meandered in the wilderness about 5 miles west of Waldo Lake. But the fire exploded in September, fanned by hot, dry winds, and scorched nearly 200 miles of forest. Much of the northern and eastern shorelines of Waldo Lake were severely burned. Last fall, I caught up with a Willamette National Forest official who was sent in to survey the damage.
We did have areas of high severity fire, and probably the area that burned the hottest and that people are going to see when they go to Waldo Lake is the old Charlton burn scar on the north end of the lake. It was already still somewhat denuded from that 1996 fire, but the vegetation was growing back. There was a lot of dead and down large woody material on the ground that all was reignited, and it burned quite hot in there.
The summary suggests that the impacts to Waldo Lake, which I know for a lot of people is a big worry, the impacts won't necessarily be all that bad.
We're not seeing that there's going to be long-term impacts on the water quality and water clarity of Waldo Lake. Basically what we believe will happen is we'll get a flush of some ash and sediment for the first maybe 1 to 3 years that may temporarily reduce that water quality some, cause maybe a little bit of algae growth, but that stuff will settle to the bottom of the lake, and I would expect within a few years it's going to be very similar to what we saw before the fire.
Canoers and kayakers will still enjoy paddling on Waldo Lake and seeing the bottom in 100 feet of water. We're on what trail now? Where are we at this spot? What are you going to show us here?
Yeah, so we're at the Islet boat ramp, and we're actually headed towards the swimming area, which is a really popular swimming area.
All right.
And you'll see that this area was really swept through with the fire with a pretty high mortality rate of all the trees.
Yeah, I mean, there's just trees scorched right here. Stuff's coming down, so you can't let people in here until you've got some of these hazard trees cleaned up, I assume.
Yeah, absolutely. So, if we're going to have people that are going to be setting up their towels, laying out on the beach all day, we definitely want to get rid of any of the trees that are going to be dangerous.
The majority of trees in the Islet, North Waldo, Blair Lake, Huckleberry Lake, and Harrelson day use areas and campgrounds were killed by the fire. Fortunately, most of the improved facilities, picnic tables, campground sites, restrooms, and boat ramps survived.
So the big effort is going to be to cut and remove all of the dead trees out of the campgrounds. Unfortunately, it's not like a trail where we can actually leave standing dead trees because we have targets where people are going to be spending an extended period of time, camp pads, parking spots. So it's Forest Service policy. It's also just a good safety practice to remove any dead trees that are a lot more likely to fall from the area. And so in these sites with such a high mortality, it means we're going to be removing most of the trees.
It's going to take months, possibly years, to remove dead trees from the campgrounds and day use areas that will remain closed until the hazards are mitigated. Whether the trees are cut down for safety reasons or eventually fall down on their own, the landscape will change. It's going to open up the views, but there will be much less shade. When might some of these facilities that are currently closed start opening?
I would really like to see some of this open by next summer. Definitely a lot of things to consider. So a lot of the trails were burned so badly that all of the organic material is gone. It's hard to even tell that there is even a trail there at all. So finding your way can be pretty difficult. There's lots of other hazards like dead branches falling, unstable dead trees that could come down, loose logs, rocks, mudslides, flash flooding, things like that to be really aware of. So if you do go into the wilderness area, we definitely recommend checking the weather before you go, making sure you tell someone where you're going to be and for how long, and then not camping under dead trees. So making sure you set up your camp in a safe location.
That sounds like really good practical advice. As of now, the shoreline trail around Waldo Lake is open to the public but not cleared. Expect any hikes you undertake in the area to take much longer than they used to. One thing that hasn't changed are the mosquitoes. This is the Waldo Lake thing. Like this, I'm not sending signals to base runners. Getting bugs off. They are still there, eager to sample your blood type. From Waldo Lake, I'm Brooks Snavely for The Great Outdoors.
Thanks for watching. If you liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and ring the notification bell so you don't miss out on more videos from Central Oregon Daily News. And for more news from the high desert, just visit centraloregondaily.com.